She knelt down to talk to a child. Royal protocol said never, but Diana didn't care. She got down to eye level, listened to the child. That moment changed everything. Children realized they could talk to princesses. Before we explore Diana's revolutionary approach to children, please consider subscribing to The Diana Stories and hitting the like button. Your support helps us tell these heartwarming stories about Diana's lasting impact. Princess Diana did something that seems simple, but was actually revolutionary. When she spoke to children, she knelt down to their eye level. This wasn't just good manners or a sweet gesture, it was a deliberate break from royal protocol and a transformation in how public figures interacted with children. Diana's kneeling became one of her most recognizable and copied behaviors, influencing not just her own sons, but how royals, politicians, and public figures around the world approach children today. Royal protocol and distance. To understand why Diana's kneeling was revolutionary, we need to understand traditional royal protocol. The British royal family operates according to centuries-old rules of behavior designed to maintain dignity, formality, and a certain distance between royals and the public. Traditionally, royals remain standing when greeting people, including children. They might lean down slightly or extend a hand, but they don't kneel or crouch. This maintains the royal stature and the formal nature of the interaction. Royals are meant to be approachable, but not familiar, friendly, but not informal. When meeting children, previous generations of royals would remain standing and perhaps pat a child on the head or shake their hand. The interaction would be brief and formal. Children were expected to show respect, curtsying or bowing, staying quiet, not touching unless invited. Queen Elizabeth II, for all her dedicated service and genuine warmth, followed traditional protocol. She would smile at children, speak to them kindly, but she remained standing and formal. This wasn't coldness, it was simply how things had always been done. The distance created by this protocol served a purpose in royal thinking. It maintained the mystique and dignity of the monarchy. Royals were meant to be special, elevated, different from ordinary people. Too much familiarity might diminish that specialness. But this distance also created barriers, especially with children. A small child looking up at a tall adult towering over them doesn't feel connection. They feel intimidated or simply disregarded. The interaction is about the adult, not the child. Diana's approach. Diana came to the royal family as a young woman who had worked with children before her marriage. She had been a nursery school teacher's assistant and a nanny. She understood children and felt comfortable around them. When Diana began official royal duties, she quickly noticed how children reacted to the traditional, formal approach. They seemed nervous, intimidated, or simply disconnected. The encounters were photo opportunities rather than real interactions. Diana decided to do things differently. When she met children, she would kneel down or crouch to their level. She would look them in the eye, smile warmly, and talk to them as if they were the most important person in the room. This wasn't something Diana announced or made a big show of. She simply did it naturally, following her instincts about how to connect with children. But photographers noticed immediately. Images of Diana kneeling beside children began appearing regularly in newspapers and magazines. The contrast with traditional royal behavior was striking. Here was the Princess of Wales, one of the most famous women in the world, kneeling on the ground to talk to a 3-year-old. She didn't seem to care about her expensive clothes getting dirty or her formal appearance being disrupted. She cared about connecting with the child. The psychology behind it. Child development experts and psychologists have long understood the importance of getting down to a child's eye level when communicating with them. When an adult towers over a child, it creates a power imbalance that can make the child feel small, unimportant, or intimidated. By kneeling or crouching to a child's level, an adult sends several important messages. First, "You're important enough for me to make this effort." Second, "I want to really see you and have you see me." Third, "We're equals in this conversation, even though I'm an adult and you're a child." Eye contact at the same level creates connection and trust. A child can see the adult's facial expressions clearly. They can tell if the adult is genuinely interested or just going through the motions. The physical act of lowering oneself is also literally humbling. It removes hierarchy from the interaction. Diana instinctively understood this. She wanted children to feel comfortable with her, to open up to her, to trust her. She couldn't do that by standing over them and offering a formal handshake. She had to meet them where they were. Child psychologists who observed Diana's interactions with children noted how effectively she connected with them. Children who might have been nervous or shy would relax almost immediately when Diana knelt beside them. They would start talking, smiling, even laughing. Diana had a gift for making children feel seen and valued. Examples and moments. Throughout Diana's public life, there were countless examples of her kneeling for children. During hospital visits, Diana would kneel beside children's beds to talk to young patients. She would take their hands, look into their eyes, and give them her full attention. At official events where children were present, Diana would always find opportunities to kneel and interact at their level. While other royals might stay standing and wave, Diana would be on the ground, having actual conversations. One particularly memorable moment came during a visit to a children's hospital. A young girl, probably about 5 years old, was crying and clearly frightened by all the commotion of a royal visit. Diana immediately knelt down beside her, took her hand, and spoke softly to her. Within moments, the child was smiling and chatting with Diana. The transformation was captured in photographs that showed Diana's genuine warmth and skill with children. During visits to schools, Diana would sit on tiny children's chairs or kneel on the floor to be at the same level as the students. She would ask them questions about their work, listen to their answers, and respond with genuine interest. Teachers later reported that children talked about Diana's visits for weeks, not because she was a princess, but because she had really listened to them. When Diana brought William and Harry to public events, she would often be photographed kneeling beside them, holding their hands or adjusting their clothes. Even with her own children in public, Diana maintained that connection at eye level, showing that this wasn't just a performance for other people's children, but how she genuinely related to kids. The contrast with other royals. The difference between Diana's approach and traditional royal behavior was stark and obvious in photographs. When other royals were photographed with children during the same era, they typically remained standing. The children would be looking up at them, and the interaction would be brief and formal. Diana's kneeling made her appear warmer, more accessible, and more genuinely caring. The visual contrast helped establish Diana's image as the people's princess, someone who broke protocol to really connect with ordinary people, especially the most vulnerable. This wasn't criticism of other royals who were simply following protocol they'd been told their entire lives, but it did highlight how Diana's willingness to break with tradition created deeper, more meaningful interactions. Queen Elizabeth, observing Diana's approach and its positive reception, did begin to show more flexibility in her own interactions with children, especially grandchildren and great-grandchildren. While she never adopted Diana's kneeling as consistently, the Queen did become somewhat less formal in her approach to children over time. Teaching William and Harry. Perhaps Diana's most important influence regarding her kneeling behavior was on her own sons. William and Harry grew up watching their mother interact with children. They saw her kneel down, listen attentively, and show genuine interest. They learned that this was how you treat children, with respect and attention. As adults, both William and Harry have adopted their mother's approach completely. William, when he became a father, was frequently photographed kneeling beside George, Charlotte, and Louis at public events. He would get down to their level, hold their hands, adjust their clothing, and talk to them eye to eye. Kate Middleton, who never met Diana but has studied her approach carefully, also consistently kneels when interacting with children at public events. During royal tours and visits, Kate is almost always photographed kneeling beside children, exactly as Diana did. Harry, before stepping back from royal duties, was also known for his natural, Diana-like interactions with children. He would kneel, crouch, or sit on the ground to be at their level. The resemblance to his mother's behavior was striking and clearly intentional. The fact that William and Harry both adopted this behavior so completely shows that Diana wasn't just performing for cameras. This was how she genuinely interacted with them, and with all children. She taught her sons by example that children deserved respect, attention, and connection at their level. Global influence. Diana's kneeling didn't just influence the royal family, it influenced how public figures globally interact with children. Politicians, celebrities, and other public figures began adopting the same approach, recognizing that it created better photo opportunities and showed them as caring and accessible. Barack Obama, during his presidency, was frequently photographed kneeling or crouching to talk to children. Whether he was consciously following Diana's example or not, the behavior had become normalized as the way caring leaders interact with children. Countless celebrities, when meeting young fans or doing charity work with children, now routinely kneel to the child's level. What Diana started as a break with royal protocol became standard practice for anyone wanting to appear warm and child-friendly. Parents around the world also began to understand the importance of getting down to their children's eye level for important conversations. Parenting experts recommended it. Books and articles about effective communication with children emphasized it. Diana had made visible something that psychologists had long understood, but that wasn't widely practiced. Why it mattered. Diana's kneeling mattered because it represented a fundamental shift in how important people related to children. It said that children weren't just cute props for photo opportunities. They were real people deserving of genuine attention and respect. The act of kneeling is physically humbling. Diana, despite her royal status and global fame, was willing to humble herself to connect with a child. That sent a powerful message about what truly matters. Human connection matters more than status or dignity or protocol. For children who met Diana, the experience was often transformative. They felt seen, heard, and valued by one of the most famous women in the world. That validated them in a profound way. They learned that they mattered, that their thoughts and feelings were important enough for a princess to kneel down and really listen. For parents and adults watching, Diana modeled a better way to relate to children. She showed that you don't need to maintain distance or superiority to be respected. In fact, showing respect to children by meeting them at their level creates deeper respect in return. The hospital visits. Diana's kneeling was particularly powerful during her visits to children's hospitals. Sick children are already feeling vulnerable, scared, and small. A formal standing interaction with a royal visitor would have been just another intimidating experience. But Diana would enter a hospital room and immediately kneel beside a child's bed. She would take their hand, look into their eyes, and talk softly to them. She would ask about their stuffed animals, their favorite TV shows, what they missed about being home. She treated them as whole people, not just patients. Nurses and doctors who witnessed these interactions reported that children would often calm down or brighten up when Diana arrived. Some children who had been withdrawn or non-communicative would start talking with Diana. Her genuine warmth and her willingness to get down on their level made them feel safe. Diana's hospital visits weren't quick photo ops. She would spend time with children, sitting or kneeling beside their beds, sometimes for 15 or 20 minutes with a single child. She gave them her full attention, making them feel like the most important person in the world. Healthcare workers said Diana's visits had lasting positive effects. Children would talk about meeting Diana for weeks afterward. The visit gave them something positive to focus on during difficult treatment. Some credited Diana's visit with helping their children through particularly tough periods of illness. The natural quality. What made Diana's kneeling so powerful was that it never looked forced or performative. She didn't make a show of it or draw attention to the act itself. She simply did it naturally, as if there was no other way to talk to a child. Photographers captured Diana kneeling in all kinds of situations: in mud, on wet grass, on dirty floors, in fancy clothes, in casual wear. She didn't seem to care about the circumstances. If there was a child to talk to, Diana would kneel down regardless of where she was or what she was wearing. This natural quality convinced people of Diana's genuine warmth and care for children. If it had seemed calculated or performed, it would have had less impact. But because Diana so clearly did it instinctively, without thinking about cameras or protocol, it came across as authentic. Authenticity was one of Diana's great strengths. People could tell when she was genuinely moved or genuinely connecting with someone. Her kneeling for children wasn't a PR strategy. It was Diana being herself, following her instincts about how to relate to children in a caring way. Breaking the protocol. Diana's consistent kneeling did cause some tension within the palace. Senior royal aides and protocol officers viewed it as improper. Royals weren't supposed to kneel or crouch in public. It wasn't dignified. It broke centuries of tradition about how royals conducted themselves. But Diana didn't care about these objections. She felt strongly that connecting with children was more important than maintaining formal dignity. She was willing to break protocol if it meant making a child feel valued and heard. This willingness to prioritize human connection over protocol was characteristic of Diana's entire approach to royal duties. She repeatedly broke traditional rules when she felt they prevented her from doing good or connecting with people who needed support. The palace eventually accepted Diana's kneeling because the public loved it. The photographs of Diana kneeling beside children were enormously popular. They reinforced Diana's image as caring, warm, and accessible. Fighting against something that made Diana more popular would have been pointless. The lasting image. Decades after Diana's death, images of her kneeling beside children remain some of the most iconic and beloved photographs of her. They capture something essential about who Diana was and how she approached her role. These photographs show Diana at her best, using her privilege and platform not to elevate herself, but to elevate others, especially the most vulnerable. They show her breaking rules not out of rebellion, but out of compassion. They show her genuine warmth and her gift for making people feel valued. For people who admire Diana, these kneeling photographs represent what they loved about her. She was royal but humble. She was famous but accessible. She had status but used it to lift others up rather than to hold herself apart. Conclusion. Diana's simple act of kneeling to speak to children at eye level was revolutionary in the context of royal behavior. It broke with centuries of protocol about maintaining formal distance and dignity, but it created something more valuable: genuine human connection and a model for how to treat children with respect. The impact of Diana's kneeling extended far beyond the individual children she met. It influenced her sons, who now routinely kneel when talking to their own children and to other children at public events. It influenced public figures globally who adopted the same approach. It influenced parents everywhere who learned the importance of getting down to their children's level for meaningful communication. Most importantly, Diana's kneeling sent a message to children worldwide. You matter. You're important enough for someone to make the effort to really see you and hear you. Your thoughts and feelings are valuable. In the end, Diana's willingness to kneel, to literally lower herself to connect with children, showed the height of her character. She understood that true nobility isn't about standing above others. It's about being willing to humble yourself to truly see and value every human being, no matter how small.